We're trying to bamboozle, confuse, utterly frustrate our sparring partners by using clever tactics. Today I have 5 ways that you can do this, and you don't have to be a striking genius to accomplish it. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. And of course, you know you are here to have 5 unique ways to confuse your sparring partners so they just lose it on you. They're so mad. I can't tell you the number of times that I've been sparring people, and yeah, sometimes you can see it in their eyes. They're getting frustrated, or through their actions as they actually try to start hitting you way too hard. But the way that's the most satisfying, the most amazing feeling when you're sparring, in my opinion, is when people just lose it. Like they full on just throw their gloves down and they walk away, or they're just like, "Rah!" and they just scream, and you can tell you've just gotten the better of them. And this is not by smashing them, by hurting them. This is just by being so clever that they don't know what to do. So let's jump into the first point. That is switching fight styles. Many people can get very good at locking into your fight style, your attacks, your defense, what you're doing, and from there building a game plan. But if you're able to go from maybe this, where you're throwing the teeps, you're using the long jabs, you're smashing in the round kicks, and then all of a sudden you switch stances and you start bouncing and you're boom, side kicking them and moving your head, and then you can change up and you go to the Philly shell and you can start boxing them from a long stance. When you start doing that, people cannot lock onto your style. You are so unpredictable, and it makes it incredibly difficult and frustrating to deal with that variety of styles. Now, yes, you want to be fairly proficient at a couple before you start doing that. You don't want to be like, this is my go-to, but now I'm going to do this and I have no idea what to do. Experiment first and then try it in sparring sessions. So much fun to do and so incredibly difficult to deal with. The next way to confuse, befuddle, whatever other words you want to come up with, your opponent, your sparring partner, is to make 50% of your movements, your attacks, fakes. If every time I move in, they know you're committing to full shots, they know everything you do is going to be a full-on attack, it's predictable. Doesn't mean it's easy, especially if you're fast and you hit hard, but when you start going, okay, attack, fake, hit, fake, hit, fake, strike, you become so difficult to dial in on when you're actually going to attack, and people start putting out way more energy than they want to, because every time you do a little movement, they're like, oh, geez. And that's why we see fighters like Israel Adesanya be so successful, because his fake percentage is so high. The only big thing of note that you want to make sure you're doing when you throw your fakes is be just outside of punching range or kicking range. Just where you know you're not going to get countered. You don't want to move within range and then go, okay, I'm going to fake and then get hit yourself. Just outside of range, you give them those little pumps, they react, and then when you're ready, you can take that little shift in and actually land your strike. The next way to frustrate your opponent to the point where they're like, I just don't want to do this anymore, is off balance the lead leg. If the lead leg is always getting worked away at and the person cannot find their footing, they're always trying to regain their balance, it's incredibly frustrating. And you can do this offensively and defensively. One or the other is great. Both together is just unbelievable. How do we go about doing that? Well, first off, if I'm on the middle of my attacks, I can come down and just full on ankle kick. I can just go right down to the ankle. If the person is fairly heavy on that and you manage to pick it out, they're just going to fall. If they're a little lighter and I'm going, oh, I don't want to actually kick and damage them, I could just come in with the bottom of the foot and just sweep right across. Maybe in a hook into a little sweep. Either way, they're being defensive and that lead leg keeps getting tripped out. If they go on the offensive and you're going, well, shoot, now I can't off balance the leg, you are entirely wrong. You totally can off balance the leg. You use your lead foot, very similar to an inside low where you attack the thigh, but you go down right to the ankle. You pick that ankle off the ground so they start approaching, you wait for them to get within range, you keep your hands very tight so you're defensive, and you just give a little tap to the inside of the lead ankle, and most likely, if you time it right, they're going to end up really splayed out. They go on the attack and their leg gets pulled out. If when you're being defensive, you're getting off balanced, when you go offensive, you're getting your leg pulled out, incredibly frustrating. You're not gonna seem like you ever have your feet below you, and you're just gonna wanna scream. The next thing which I find which really frustrates people is to play around with a changing front kick or teep range. When people go, okay, this is the distance, this is where I'm scared of that teep, then they'll make adjustments. They'll go, okay, on the inside I feel safe, or I'll take a little step out and again feel safe. But if from this tight range I can lift up and really tuck this front kick tight, then I can front kick in here. So somebody could be punching me and you could still be throwing a front kick. This is not a specialty of mine, but I used to spar with somebody and he was so good at that. I would be right to the punch range and be like, oh, okay, now I'm where I want to be. And he's just firing this little front kick right into my gut. Incredibly frustrating. Obviously, the normal range, which we're normally aware of, right at the end of the kick is fantastic. So we've already closed off. This range is uncomfortable. And this range is uncomfortable, but now they step back. Well, then you just put together that extra little pivot, you turn your foot over on 45-degree angle, and boom, you just created an extra 6 or 7 inches. One here, and then boom, right through. So I can go in tight, shell up, touch. I can be at my normal range, touch. They're way out of range, touch. And then all of a sudden, wherever they think they're safe, they're not. They're getting hit, they're getting hit, they're getting hit at all those different ranges, and they are just getting so mad and frustrated. The final way to mess with your sparring partner and make them frustrated is to do something which I call sticky hands. That means I'm not using my traditional defense where my hands are up and my partner is hitting my forearms or the outside of my gloves. I am reaching and I'm sticking my palms right to them. If you're in your stance and I come up and I put my hand right against your forearm, and you go to try and punch me with a, let's say, a cross or a straight punch, I've jammed you. If you start to come with a hook, I keep my hand connected to yours and I block it. If they come with an uppercut, I come here. And I can use one hand, or in addition, I could just use 2. I could be here and go sticky hands and then just maneuver around. A lot of times from there, I will use that to close into the clench. I'll throw my couple knees, I'll put my hands back on the gloves, I'll go back to that sort of sticky hand range, maybe exit for a moment, slide in, sticky hand, touch, control, little elbow, little switch kick, back out. These palms to gloves are surprisingly effective and so frustrating for the person on the other side because they have hands against their forearms, they're trying to throw, but every time they do, they're finding they're getting caught. This is something which you don't want to try for the very first time in sparring. Play around on the bag, kind of be like, oh, I hit the bag, stick, push back, front kick, fake the front kick, stick. Imagine them punching a little bit, close the gap, hit them a couple times, play around with that, maybe drill with a partner who's comfortable with you trying this out, and then see if you can put it together in a sparring session. All the 5 things I gave you today are 100% gonna frustrate people to the point where they just go, my skill level is here, and this person who's just toying with me, their skill level is way up here, somewhere where I can't even see it, I can't fathom how good they are. These are fun, safe ways to play around with people and show them how your skill level is just crazy high. And like I just said, the word safe, note that, because many people try to show dominance in sparring by hurting other people. I prefer not to do that. I prefer to use these tactics where you show them you're good, but nobody's leaving with a concussion. Let's call it there, guys. You enjoyed the episode, please give it a like. As always, train hard. I will see you back here soon for another video.